Now Allah is saying this time, if you're going to stay on the right, if you're going to get straight, you're going to straighten out, then you better hold on to Allah. وَاعْتَصَمُوا بِاللَّهِ وَأَخْلَصُوا دِينَهُمْ لِلَّهِ. And by holding on to Allah, they made their deen sincere to Allah. Let me tell you guys something about personal and just a bit of advice for Muslims in general about how to maintain, one of the ways to maintain sincerity. There's lots of ways to maintain sincerity. But one of the ways to maintain sincerity, that's an implication of what Allah is saying here. Al-i'tisamu billah yani al-i'tisam bihablillah. Holding on to Allah implies holding on to the rope of Allah. The tafsir of that's already mawjood, it's present in the Qur'an. What is the rope of Allah? I discussed this with you before. Qur'an itself. If you can, on your own time, when nobody else is watching, nobody else is listening, on your own time, you sit and you recite Qur'an and you try to understand what Allah is saying to you. Just as the only intention is, what is Allah saying to me? Yes, you're going to read a tafsir, you're going to read a translation, you're going to read an explanation, you're going to study the grammatical analysis, the vocabulary, all of that. At the end of it, you're just sitting down and you're reading an ayah and you're saying, what is Allah saying to me? Ya Allah, what are you guiding me with in this ayah? You're holding on to the rope of Allah. And you know what that does? What that does for you and me, if we have that relationship with the Qur'an starts turning into a mirror. You start seeing yourself in the ayat. And you start seeing a really ugly person. You start seeing the things you and I have to refine. You know, one of my favorite passages for self-comparison is Surah Al-Mu'minun. Such an amazing eye-opener. Man, I will feel like scum if you really sit and recite Surah Al-Mu'minun, first few ayat. Just make a checklist. Here's قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. True believers have already attained success. Here's what it takes to be a successful believer. So let's make a checklist. Okay, الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. They have khushu in their salah every time. Should I check mark that box or leave that blank for now? Okay, maybe I'll leave that blank. Maybe I'll go to the next one. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّهْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. They stay away from empty, useless talk and activities. I don't have that covered quite yet. Okay, let me just move on. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِلزَّكَاةِ فَاعِلُونَ. They're constantly trying to purify, cleanse themselves, identify what's wrong in their character and actually make it a project to get that out of their system, cleanse their personality. I don't know. Okay, hold on. What else is there? Is there anything I can just kind of... It becomes this mirror, where do I stand? And if I haven't checked any of these boxes, then first I said true believers already successful. I felt really good when I first read it. True believers, yes. This is about me, or is it? You know? It becomes a very, very difficult reality. It's not going to come from a lecture. That's not going to come from a lecture. That's not going to come from, sitting and listening to a teacher. That's going to be you on your time engaging the Qur'an. That's when sincerity will happen. وَأَخْلَصُوا دِينَهُمْ لِلَّهِ. Then they will make their deen, they will purify their religion for Allah. Then they'll realize what it means to truly have a relationship with Allah for the sake of Allah alone. You know, we have to be around people all the time. We have to make time to be with Allah, just with Allah. Allah instituted salah for that reason. We're away from people, even though you're standing in jama'ah with thousands of people in a gigantic masjid, you're supposed to feel like you're just by yourself, just you and Allah. That's what's supposed to be the case. And if that's not the case, then at least get the reinforcement from the community and then establish the individual prayers at home when you're praying by yourself. That's the additional prayers. Make them by yourself. I mean, think about the psychological implications of Qiyamul Layl even. Allahumma arzuqna Qiyamul Layl. Allah grant us the rizq of Qiyamul Layl. In a habit in our lives. Everybody's sleeping. The rest of your household is sleeping. Nobody's watching. It's just you and God. That's it. There's nothing going on in the world. The world is asleep. Animals are asleep. It is an opportunity for just you. No kids are running around. Nobody's asking you to do the groceries. There's no phone in the background. There's no text messages being sent. There's no TV on. Nothing's on. Everything's dead. Everything's dead. And that's an opportunity for your heart to come alive. That's it. وَأَخْلَصُوا دِينَهُمْ لِلَّهِ. They cleanse their religion. They purify their deen for the sake of Allah. The biggest problem of the munafiq, insincerity. This advice, what does it have to do with? Developing sincerity. أَخْلَصُوا دِينَهُمْ لِلَّهِ اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And those are the ones that are among the true believers. فَسَوْفَ يُؤْتِ اللَّهُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. Then soon Allah will give true believers A huge compensation. Ajran aziman, like as though it's earning. Ajr as though it's earning. So Allah is saying it's literally like it's work. Allah didn't even mention a'mal salihah here. Didn't mention necessarily a lot of good deeds. He just mentioned the effort of becoming sincere as though it's labor. Because ajr is given in compensation of labor. So just us making an effort to become sincere to Allah is considered labor by Allah Azza wa Jal. مَا يَفْعَلُ اللَّهُ بِعَذَابِكُمْ. What a beautiful ayah. What's Allah going to get punishing you? What am I going to do punishing you for? In Urdu you'd say, Allah tumhe azab deke karega kya? What's He going to do? Why do you think He wants to punish you? Such a beautiful statement by Allah Azza wa Jal. He scared us in a few passages, a few ayat ago. He just said the hypocrite will beware. Let us put in the hellfire. And then He says, what do you think? I get any joy out of punishing you? You think I want to do this? I get nothing out of this. I have no intention of wanting to punish you. I don't want to do this to you. Why are you so bent upon doing it to yourselves? مَا يَفْعَلُ اللَّهُ بِعَذَابِكُمْ إِن شَكَرْتُمْ وَآمَنْتُمْ. If you could only meet two conditions, if you had become grateful and you just had iman, that's it. I went to business school, but I hated business studies. I hated finance. I could not make heads or tails of it. But I know some very basic things that I can share with you just on this point. How people are swindled. It doesn't take a genius to understand some things. You buy a house for $50,000. Maybe you bought a house in 1920 for $50,000. You bought it on a mortgage though. 30-year mortgage, fixed rate, whatever. How much do you end up paying in 30 years? After 30 years, no, you pay at least $200,000. You pay at least $200,000. Now it's been 30 years. It's not 1920 anymore, it's 1950. The house is now 30 years old. Does that mean the materials of the house are worth more or less? The materials of the house, the foundation of the house, the plumbing in the house, the electricity in the house, everything is older, it's worth less. Okay. Now time came for you to sell the house. You put in 200, you're at least going to sell it for what? 250? At least. Okay, 210. Fine, you're really modest. 210. What did you buy it for? The original asking price of it was 50. Now you're going to sell it for 250. Somebody else bought the house, same brick, same wood, same plumbing, same square footage, same everything. They bought it for 250. They also took a mortgage out. What are they going to pay in 30 years? You see where this is going? So as generations go by, is owning that same piece of property, that same land, is it the same value or less and less value? It's less and less value. Now imagine, let me tell you how the monetary system, we've accepted certain robbery as just normal. The treasury mandated citizens to give up their gold. At one point in American history, it mandated citizens to give up their gold. Okay. So they come to my house and say, give up your brick of gold. So, okay, fine, take it, and let me cash in its place. So instead of the brick of gold in my safe, now I have $10,000 in 1910 sitting in my safe. So it's either the brick of gold or $10,000. Okay. 100 years go by, my great-grandson opens the safe. What does he see inside the safe? $10,000. He does not see a brick of gold. Now, he goes back to the treasury and says, here's what you gave me. I'd like my brick of gold back. What does he get? A coin. He gets a coin for 10 grand. Maybe 2 coins. Have the people been robbed of their assets? Absolutely. That's what riba does. That's what riba fundamentally does. The fluctuating value of cash, the foreign exchange, arbitrarily the money goes up and the money goes down. Your life savings become nothing overnight. The house is worth nothing. The house is worth, I know Muslim friends that got caught up in this stuff. House is worth like 150,000. But the market was bubbling, and it was 300,000. They bought the house at 300,000. Then they took out this mortgage, which means they owe 450,000, 500,000. Then the market collapsed, and now the house is worth 120,000. So even if they sell it, they're still in debt for something they never actually received. They still owe $450,000, $500,000 for something that doesn't exist. An artificial loan of no value. There's nothing they can do to recover that money. If that's not robbery, I don't know what is.